monsoon clouds hang thick, and there is the promise of a downpour. Nearby, the Huvinane, Margondanahalli lake froths silently as hordes of water tankers noisily jostle for space with other vehicles on the narrow roads. Last year, Bengaluru saw floods, inundation and record rain. But for residents of Fern Meadows, a cluster of 70 houses in Byrathi, on the northern edge of the city abutting on peri-urban villages, massive IT parks and residential complexes, their retirement haven turned barren. For over 20 years, the complex, once surrounded by farmland and plantations, had relied on a network of 5 bore wells for their water. Last year, all but one dried up. Water tankers, sucking water from other bore wells kilometers away, became their lifeline. There are so many bore wells in the area now that our groundwater has completely drained off. We had no other water source and we needed to find a way to revive our bore wells, says Prithvi Devaya, a member of the colony's Residences Welfare Board. And that's how Devaya and the other residents chanced upon their unlikely saviors, maneuvers, the community of well diggers. Walking along the colony, Pedana, 37, gauges the inclines. He has been a well digger for 21 years and has dug nearly 5,000 recharge wells and 800 open wells, Pedana tells me. He has learned to read the land and its relationship with water. In the shadows, Pedana's team of 5 work by hand, removing 70 kilograms of soil at a time, and after reaching a depth that will allow rainwater to filter through or seepage to collect, they lower concrete rings and crushed stone to seal the enclosure. Over 60 such recharge wells are proposed to be dug in the neighborhood now. In 2 years, the residents hope the rain will bring the bore wells back to life. But Pedana wants the residents to make the wells their sole source of water. These wells can easily give 32,000 liters of water daily, even during the summer, he says. A city with a population of more than 10 million and which has no water source to call its own, Bengaluru often features at the top of doomsday lists predicting water crises. After all, the quantum of water drawn from the under dispute Kaveri is reaching a saturation point, while groundwater levels are plummeting, particularly in the large urban swaths where piped water is yet to reach. Working in the shadows of the city's IT hubs, the maneuvers and their traditional wisdom may hold the key to Bengaluru's water woes. As more than 4 lakh bore wells suck the city dry, a new campaign called 1 Million Recharge Wells hopes to bring the well back in the city's water lexicon. Even if you consider small wells, 3 feet wide and 20 foot deep, they can yield around 500 million liters per day for the city, or 25% of the demand, says Avinash Krishnamurthy, director and project manager for Biome Environmental Trust that is helming the campaign. There's also a clear ecological benefit. Shallow aquifer wells recharge groundwater, while bore wells only bring the water up. While high-functioning bore wells can retrieve water only at 600 feet or deeper, open wells can give up to 50,000 liters of potable water at just 60 feet. Open wells also share a symbiotic relationship with nearby lakes, one recharging the other when levels dip. Lost connection. The economics of it is more enticing. Open wells give water at less than 2 rupees per liter, bore wells at 9 rupees per liter, and piped water from Kaveri at over 25 rupees per liter. And then, there is water heritage. The city's demographic has changed, and with it, the emotional connect with tanks and wells, which sustained the city until 50 years ago. We have to begin creating this connection with the landscape and water heritage and bring it to the contemporary city, says Krishnamurthy. In pockets of old Bengaluru, one can still find the attachment. It is like the Ganga. Without it, we can't work or survive, says 65-year-old Munayappa, Adobe in Fraser Town, about the open well there that supplies over 40,000 liters of water a day. Many older temples continue to rely on the wells in their backyard. The campaign is slowly reviving the livelihoods of well diggers. 3 decades ago, nearly all the households in Bovipalya in rural Bengaluru were engaged in well digging. As Bengaluru grew, the demand, and space, for wells diminished. Nobody wanted to build open wells anymore. We would walk around town for days and approach houses with disused wells. But convincing the residents of their importance was tough, says Ramakrishna, who has been in the profession for the past 20 years. Now, with renewed demand, sometimes as high as 3 wells a week, about 50 people from Bovipalya have switched to well digging full-time. Each well can employ up to 4 people and sustain them for a week, says Ramakrishna. There is much to do though, particularly on the government's part. The hope, says Krishnamurti, is to create a decentralized system of water supply and incentivize recharging, as opposed to the current system that consumes highly subsidized, highly limited river water. The Belagavi example. Perhaps Bengaluru can learn from the impressive turnaround by Belagavi city in northern Karnataka. The 800-year-old city had its moment of reckoning in 1995, when a drought brought it to the brink. The city, which receives more than 1,500 millimeters of rain annually and sits on porous soil, had run out of water. Civic officials and citizens turned to an ingenious and quick solution. They revived the open wells in the city. Congress well, dug in 1924 to supply water to delegates of the Belgaum Congress session, and the British-era wells in Veerbhadranagar, 1908, Shetty Galley, 1885, and Math Galley, 1883, among others. Today, 23 years later, the 29 revived wells work in tandem with the city's water supply to quench the thirst of nearly half the city's populace. It has reiterated our faith in the sustainability of water from open wells, says R.S. Naik, chief engineer of Belagavi City Corporation and the architect of the open well system. Recently, though, Belagavi seems to be going the Bengaluru way by dreaming up ambitious engineering solutions. Just like the IT city set its sights on the Kaveri in the 60s, Belagavi seeks to bring the Ghataprabha River, some 35 kilometers away, under the Smart City project, forgetting its wells and the solution under its nose. Additional reporting by Rishikesh Bahadar Desai in Belagavi.